Well, here we are again, folks. Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. I'm just a little informal right now. I just came in from work, and I'm sitting down and I'm reading a poem. After a good hard day and you're wore out and your slap wore out, you need just to sit down and get a little comfort. Well, right now is a good time for me to do that, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going to turn around here a little bit so the light doesn't seem to be quite right on me tonight. Right here, here we go. There we are. Now let's see if I can see what I'm reading. This poem is by George Linnaeus Banks. I love poetry and what I live for. It said, I live for those who love me, whose hearts kind and true, for the heaven that smiles above me, and await my spirit too. For all human ties that bind me, for the task by God assigned me, for the bright hopes yet to find me, and a good that I can do. Wow, I love it. These poems, I have this book right here, this poem book, and it's designed by Howell. And I love to learn their stories, who suffered for my sake, to emulate their glory and follow in their wake. Bards, pirates, mariners, sages, the historic of all ages, whose deeds crowd history pages, and time great volume makes. I love to hail that season, by gifted ones foretold, when men shall live by reason, and not alone by gold. Wow. When man to man united, and every wrong thing right, the whole world shall be lighted, as Eden was of old. Boy, going back to where the Garden of Eden was, the new heaven and the new earth that God's going to usher in after this one is burned up, cast into the lake of fire. I live for those who love me, for those who know me true, for the heaven that smiles above me and awaits my spirit too, for the cause that lacks sustains, for the wrong that needs resistance, for the future in the distance, and the good that I can do. And that's George Linnaeus Banks. We need to attribute that to him. That I don't know if he's a live man or if he's a dead man, but I do know what. These words here are attributed to a spiritual man, a man that knew he was going to heaven. And I ask God when I'm doing things, and I'm reading things that somebody wrote, and they're spiritual, I ask God to put that. God said He's building us a mansion in heaven. And I pray, Lord, put another on George Linnaeus Bank. Put another chimney on another fireplace in his house, in his mansion. Put another gable in his mansion. Today, being haunted by the cultivated recollection of your unpleasant past, be it made up of willful wrongdoing, wealth that withered, fame that fled, or such other painful parts made for your undoing by robbing you and your present joys and actual affectionness. I hadn't pre-read this one, and I hadn't planned on reading it. But because I am reading it, I'm going to finish it. Take hold of yourself. Look back only to learn to avoid the same mistake. Know that your yesterdays are gone, beyond recall. Seek to make amends, to pay just debts, to bind hearts broken by your callousness. Differences are indifferences. Go forth with a cleansed character, controlled by self-respect, self-discipline, and self-denial. With Jesus, march on. With Jesus, we must march on. I tell you what, you cannot change yesterday. That is clear. Or being on tomorrow until it is here. So the best thing left for you and for me is to make today as sweet as we can be. That was written by a guy named Daniels. To fret with fear, to worry about the future, is to express faithlessness, pessimism, cowardice. So anxiety about tomorrow defeats your today, and depends often destroys confidence, zest, and enthusiasm, and qualities so necessary in the glad and wholesome use of enjoyment of the present called today. Wow. I know not what the future hath, or marvel or surprise, assured along that life and death God's mercy underlies. So finish every day and be done with it. If you have done what you could, some blunders and some abstractities no doubt crept in. Forget them right away and avoid them henceforth. Today is a new day. Begin it well and sincerely, with too high a spirit to be crumbled with your old nonsense. It is too dear with its hope and invitation to waste a moment on vain regret or baseless fear. You know, all fear, 99 and 9/10 of the time, is unnecessary. And it is futile to have it. And it's futile to allow it to change you or do anything to you. So put it away. Listen to the window called today. Through the window of the present, all my life must come to me. Freedom, happiness, and friendship. These great beauties I shall see. Only as they near my casement, then my heart must bid them stay, for God's blessing always enter. Through the window called today, care my cast and fleeting shadow on my precious window pane. But I know that sunshine gathers added splendor from the rain. So I find that each glad morning life is glorious and gay, as it greets my eager spirit through the window called today. Lawrence Hawthorne wrote that. What a poet. What a poet. I have many here. Another one, your name. This is a good one. Did your daddy give you his name? If he did, this will mean more to you than the average person. You got it from your father. It was the best he had to give. And right gladly he bestowed it. It is yours the while you live. You may lose the watch he gave you, or another may claim, but remember when you're tempted to be careful of his name. Wow. It was fair on the day you got it, and worthy name to wear. When he took it from his father, there was no dishonor there. Wow. Through the years, he proudly wore it. To his father, he was true, and that name was clean and spotless when he passed it on to you. Oh, there's much that he has given that he values not at all. He has watched you break your playthings in the days when you were small. And you've lost the knife he gave you, and you've scattered many a game, but you'll never hurt your father if you're careful of his name. It is yours to wear forever, yours to wear the while you live, yours perhaps some distant morning to another boy give. And you'll smile as did your father smile above that baby there. If a clean name and a good name you are given him to wear. Edgar Guest wrote that. Mr. Guest was a very good poet. Here's another one, State of Mind, by an unknown author. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but you think you can't, you can't. It's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you lose, you're lost. For out in the world you find, success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. Boy, that's good. If you think you're outclassed, you are. If you've got to think high to rise, you've got to be sure of yourself before, if you can ever win the prize. Full many a race is lost, ere every a step is run, and many a crowd fails, ere even his work begun. Think big, and your deeds will grow. Think small, and you'll fall behind. Think that you can, and you will. It's all in the state of mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or the faster man, but sooner or later the man who wins is the fellow who thinks he can. Author unknown. Wow. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. We lived just a hop, skip, and a jump when I was a young man from his house, from where he lived, there in the state of Maine. And he said, man is blessed, some will say cursed, with having a conscience, that minor sense, the moral goodness, or blame worthlessness, or one's own conduct, intentions of character, together with a feeling of obligation to do right or to be good. The temptation comes undercut conscience with low moral value, or by outright paying no heed to the pleading caution of this still small voice. Some success is circumventing conscience, thus prodding under the false color temporarily undetected. Many even prosper while proceeding on a selfish, chatting, deceitful course, unmindful of their moral obligation to do always that which is right. All poems don't rhyme. All poems aren't harmonized. But if you read them in the light of the year this was written, in the age of the man, and the language that's used, Man's responsibility to himself is to his own conscience. It is blinding, or more so, as it is responsibility to his fellow man. You cannot do wrong and feel right. Sooner or later, you must sit alone with your conscience and face your true self. None but one can harm you. None but yourself, who are your greatest foe. He that respects himself is safe from others. He that wears a coat of mail that none can pierce. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I do not and know if I've ever read any of William Shakespeare's poems. What stronger breastplate than a heart can united? Thrice is he armed that hath his quarrel just, and he is naked through locked up in steel, whose conscience with justice is corrupted. I do not understand his particular poetry, and maybe if I read enough of it, I will. Thomas Paine wrote this: mud thrown is ground lost. I like that. I love the man that can smile in trouble, that can gather strength from distress, and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little mind to shrink, but he whose heart is firm and whose conscience approves his conduct will pursue his principles unto death. Wow. Thomas Paine. Conscience. I sat alone with my conscience in a place where time had ceased, and we talked of my former living in the land where the years increased, and I felt I should have an answer. The question was put to me, and to face the answer and question through all eternity. The ghost of forgotten action come floating before my sight, and things that I thought were dead, things were alive with terrible might. And the vision, all the past life, was an awful thing to face, alone with my conscience sitting in that solemnly silent place. And I thought of a farewell warning for a sorrow that was to be mine, in a land that was in the future, but now in the present time. And I thought of my former thinking, of the judgment day to be, but sitting alone with my conscience seemed judgment enough for me. And I wondered if there was a future to this land beyond the grave, but no one gave me an answer, and no one came to save. Then I felt that the future was present, and the present would never go by, for it was but a thought of my past life growing into eternity. Then I woke from my timeless dreaming, and the vision passed away, and I knew that the fear of seeming was a wandering of yesterday. And I pray that I might not forget in this land before the grave, that I may not cry in the future, and no one come to save. And so I have learned a lesson which I ought to have known before, in which though I learned it dreaming, I hope to forget it no more. So I sit alone with my conscience in the place where the years increase, and I try to remember the future in the land where time will cease. And I know of the future judgment, how dreadful sore it be, that so I sit alone with my conscience will be judgment enough for me. Charles William Stubbs. I'm doing a Bible course by a man by the name of Stubbs. out of Detroit, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan. And that rings a bell with me, that name. I expect to pass through this world but once. Any good thing, therefore, that I can do or any kindness I can show to any fellow human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Stephen Gilbert. Oh me, the stuff that's in this book. I've browsed it and put my little stars on those that I liked, and many of them are wonderful. Doing your job the best, and being just as your fellow man. It's making money, but holding friends, and being true to your aim and end. It's figuring how, the learning why, and looking forward and thinking high, and dreaming a little, do much. It's keeping always in the closest touch. Which what is finest in the world, indeed, it's being through, yet making speed. Thorough, but making speed. It's daring blithely and field of chance, while making labor a brave romance. I love it. Labor, to me, is a romance. I enjoy labor. I enjoy working with my hands. I'm 76. Just a few minutes ago, I was setting tile in the bathroom. And I love working. And it's, I usually don't do time, but it's after 9 o'clock at night where we live. And God has blessed me with some health. He's also blessed me with a little bit of wealth. According to a wealthy man, it's not but a pence. But having a whole lot of money to me makes no sense. I like to put it where it's worthy. In the church house it goes to feed some missionaries who may have cold toes. With what is the finest in the world indeed, it's being thorough yet making speed. Daring, blithely, and field of chance, while making labor a brave romance. It's going onward despite defeat, and fighting strategically but keeping sweet. It's being clean, and it's playing fair. It's laughing lightly at a dame's despair. It's looking up at the stairs above, drinking in deeply of the life and love. It's struggling on with will to win, but taking loss in a cheerful grin. It's sharing worry and work with mirth, and making better this old earth. It's striving through strain and stress. It's doing your noblest. That is success. Burton Braley. Wow. Wow. I don't think this is an old book. I don't know when this book was put out. Most of the books I have age. Oh, here's a starred one right here. Don't quit. That's my motto. Don't quit. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, woo, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh, when care is passing you down a bit. Rest if you must, but do not quit. Life is queer, or odd, you see, with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a failure turns about, when he might have won had he struck it out. Don't give up through the piece. Though the pace seems slow, you might succeed with another blow. I'm setting some massive tiles, big tiles, and I'm setting them in a bathroom, and with mudding. And I'm in the process today of having 3 or 4 set. And I'm summoned away from the job, knowing that it is a disaster when I come back if I leave it, if it slides. So I come back an hour and a half later, and it slid. A disaster it was. It took a little bit to fix it. Nobody but me will know the difference, but it will look right. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggle has given up when he might have captured and victor's cup. And he learned too late when the night slipped down how close he was to the golden crown. My friend, don't give up. Do not give up. Stay in the battle. Success and failure turned inside out. Success is failure turned inside out. I do that every day. I turn failures inside out every day. The silver tint of the clouds of doubt, and you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar, so stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you mustn't or must not quit. Our author unknown. I could have been the author of that. Very, very could. Matter of fact, the majority of everybody that I know could have been the author of that. If you live in this world has become a place not too friendly to the average working man. And you know the average working man is the one that's putting the money in the kitty so that those who aren't working can eat without working. And us little peons are putting the money in the kitty. Courtesy. The constant interchange of those thousands of little courtesies. With impracticability, sweeten life has a happy effect upon the features and spirits, spreads a mellow evening charm over a wrinkle of old age. Washington Irving wrote that little thing. Make me to be brave, to lie or be kind. Make me to understanding, to mind. The little hurts companions give, and friends. The callous hurts that no one quite intends. May I forget what ought to be forgotten, and recall unfailing all that ought to be recalled, each kindly thing. Forgetting that might sting to all upon my way, day after day, let me be joy, be hope, let my life sing. Davis. If we give love and sympathy, even to those who hate us, we fill them so with misery, they know not how to rate us. Well, our time is come and gone. This little old poem book is Designed for Living by Howell. Designed for Living by Howell. And let's see if I can see right quick like. It looks like it was written in, it was copyrighted in 1970. It was written and copyrighted in 1915 the first time. So it has some very old stuff in it. It's a nice book. You probably could find one on the net if you tried. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.